Welcome back to When Will I Learn. This is kind of like a just at the desk video, just a bit of an unboxing. Yeah, an unboxing I guess. So if you watched my last video, you'll have seen me talk about a couple of these. These are vintage lenses. They're from quite a few different camera brands. This is one of my favorites. This is a Olympus 28mm f2.8. It's quite nice. And this is my other favorite. This is a Chinon 35mm 2.8 as well. And I've over the years adapted these onto Sony's and onto Canons. Really like the look that you get from them, but I used them a lot I was using vintage lenses a lot more for photography, not necessarily for video. And one of the reasons for that was autofocus can be a bit fiddly. When you're actually trying to shoot video, I find that this kind of movement makes it difficult to autofocus, makes it difficult to focus. But the fact that I dragged these out for a bit of B-roll made me kind of remember them, and I started playing about with them on these cameras and just enjoyed it a lot. I just remembered what it was about them that I really liked. I thought I'd get something that might help me out with using them for video again. So I first saw this in a video that Caleb from DSLR Video Shooter did. He used this on a shoulder rig setup, and it's a follow focus, but it's one that's kind of designed for gimbals predominantly. That made me kind of think, well, is it actually what I'm after? But having watched his video and seen what his use case was for it, because if you know me, you know I don't really do gimbals. I mean I do, but I don't own one, I just rent them. This is the Tilta Nucleus N, and it's a wireless follow focus, which means that it's got some gears that will go on the lens, or you can use cinema lenses with gears already on them, and that will allow you to control your focus. In the past I've had a bit of a go with some sort of cheap follow focuses that you attach to the actual camera, and I found the fact that you're touching the camera, you're imparting a bit of movement to the camera, even if it's only minor. I didn't get the benefit that I wanted, and it didn't warrant the amount of extra faff to set up a camera with a follow focus. But this thing gets your hand movements completely away from the actual lens. Comes in a nice hard case. So what have we got inside? First of all, you've got the actual motor. This little thing is powered over USB, and this goes on a rail, which then will sort of marry up with your lens. The rail for that, in this case, is on a little base plate. So you've got a rail that screws onto, one doesn't screw onto, it just goes into that base plate like that. This actually does come with some of the accessories that you need to mount this to a gimbal. So it's got some of those in there, which for someone like me who rents gimbals instead of like owning them is actually really good, because then I can just mount this to whatever gimbal I'm using at the time. Some little tools in there. This is the actual unit that you use to control focus. So this is the bit that you actually hold and control the focus with. This is powered by a little battery that looks a lot like a AA, but it turns out it's not. It's a lithium ion, double the power of a AA. But the charge is pretty cool. It just magnets to either side of the battery and plugs into USB, and it has pass-through, which is really quite good. Comes with some of the cables that you need to power it from your gimbal, because that's how one way you can get power to this is you can power it direct from the gimbal. Instructions and some gears. So these gears allow you to take any random vintage lens, in my case, and add this functionality to them. That marries up with this little piece, and you're kind of good to go. So I'm going to set this up, see what it looks like, see how it functions. So I played around with it and I've got it set up. One of the setups that I wanted it for was this, and this is inspired heavily by Caleb from DSLR Video Shooter, even down to he used this, pretty much all the same setup. At the moment I've just got the Sony on it. Ideally it would be this that I'm shooting on now on it, but it just means that I can have this manual lens, and in fact any lens, because you don't want to just be relying on autofocus if you're doing a setup like this. And I can just quite nicely get focus, something there, and I can hold it there. You know, as long as I'm on the same plane, I'm going to be able to keep focus even if I move it out of like a focus zone. So you know, if you use an autofocus, you'll have zones, or the camera basically will be deciding for you. And with this, you take that control back. It's pretty easy to get set up on these lenses. One little concern is, because these lenses are quite small, this band of gears that you kind of add on to it, you end up with a lot of slack, and that kind of gets in the way a little bit, but I'm thinking there's probably ways around that. The calibration seems great. The movement on the wheel is really, really nice. I've not tested out like the distance that it works at or anything like that. For the most part, I'm probably not really going to be maxing that out. A setup like this would be great if you wanted someone else to pull focus, so you could concentrate on getting the framing right. So you just concentrate on the camera, someone else is there doing the focus. You know, maybe they've got a separate monitor, something like that. I mean, at that point you're looking into wireless monitoring systems and things like that, and you're looking at paying someone else to be there, and yeah, I guess it can get expensive, but it's nice to know that this is a pro bit of kit. The motor is a little bit on the weak side. It did struggle a little bit on, not on that one. I've got a 50mm here that's just a little bit too stiff on the movement, and it didn't really like that. It didn't struggle too much. I think it was fine in the end, but anything more substantial than that would be potentially difficult. The other setup that I got it for was, I'll show you, I'll set it up now. The other setup is this. So I've got the slider one from Edelkrone, the head one, and at the moment I don't have a way of focusing while it's on this. So say I'm working on a shot, I've got like a movement, dial that movement in. So I've set up my points on this, but I've got a different focus for each one, and so far I've been using autofocus. It's not too bad, but you just don't have the same kind of control. So I'm looking at using this. I've got a monitor here, so I set a point, get the focus over there, just focus on that. Yeah, what am I going for? I'm going to focus on that lens there. So that's point A, take it back to the other side, and I want to focus on the computer there. And I can use the monitor to make sure that that's got critical focus, and that's point B. So the whole movement is now just mapped from one stop to the other. I can be at this side, set this going, so set that recording, set this in motion, and I've got confidence now that I was in focus at the start, and as we go through this I can start to rack focus nice and slow, nice and slow, and by the time I get to the other side, I've hit the end of this, and that lens is in focus. And so that's basically that. It's complicated, this setup. It's made a lot more moving parts, but it's given me a lot more control. I like the shoulder rig. I've got some projects coming up where I'm going to be working with other people. I'm going to be filming people doing things, and as I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of the look of a gimbal. I really like the shoulder rig. As you can see, I've just kind of built this from some parts from an old shoulder rig, and if you go, I'll link Caleb's video down below, but if you go and watch his video, he kind of describes this pretty well. There's a very much different, there's a very different look between gimbal look and this shoulder rig look. There's something about this that's like got movement, it's got a little bit of like natural kind of sway to it. It looks far more cinematic, and that's what Caleb's. So I'm not gonna talk about how to put this rig together. As I said, I'll link his video below. That's great for that. This is great for some of the other stuff that I do. I found that it's really limiting without having some sort of focus control. And I know that Edelkrone do their own focus control, but this one suited me better. And so that's it really for the unboxing of this. And this video is a little bit different from what I'm usually getting up to. I just thought it was interesting to talk about this, and I had the time, so I thought, you know, maybe some people will want to see what you get in the box, that kind of thing. Hopefully I can kind of talk more in depth about it once I've used it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I've been Sean, this has been When Will I Learn, and I'll see you next time.